So, Letizia, you said it all. First of all, let me say that this is the best possible venue for an energy conference, next to those who ideate, engineer, manufacture, and sell innovation at all levels. So, well, happy to have more conferences in places like that. Letizia, you said most of what we do care about. In a nutshell, we make sure we have the resources, the financial instruments, the policy frameworks to make sure that we can scale national champions, European champions in the clean tech sector. That's fundamental, especially if we want to be ambitious enough with our climate targets. So my topic today is the state of the energy transition, which is quite a big topic. You can face it in many ways. First one, of course, is to witness the growth of renewables. This is the very recent report by the IEA, just published this week. We are on track to triple renewable penetration by 2030, like the COP28 said last year. We are actually at 2.7, according to these estimates. We are growing. China is dominating. Italy is on track. This year is kind of a record year. We already deployed 4.8 gigawatts in the first 8 months of the year. Last year we deployed 5.8, which is, kind of a very good trend. And this is a first picture that, of course, we just should always think about. The second one, if we can go to the next slide, is the national pledges reflected in plans like national energy and climate plans for Italy are quite ambitious. If you see countries on the right, in the right box, this is also from the IEA, we see countries that have national pledges that exceed the accelerated case from the IEA, meaning that if they meet these pledges, they will deploy more than what is necessary for meeting this very ambitious goal. So you have Spain, for instance, as a, quite relevant European champion to that extent, while you have Germany, Italy, Denmark, that in the second box meet the main case by the IEA. In a nutshell, we are there. We are reaching these goals. But this would be probably kind of a vanity metric. We also need to face reality, which is we need to do kind of a reality check on the state of the transition. The first one is that we need to think about integration. That's a very relevant issue. If we can go to the next slide, we can see how much curtailment rates we have in renewables across the world, and especially how it tends to be related to a higher concentration of renewables in the grid. Like if you pick Spain, which is the purple dots, you see that the higher renewable penetration is typically kind of correlated with a higher level of curtailment. And Spain is one of the most developed countries in Europe and in the world in terms of integration of renewables. So that's fundamental. According to another analysis from the IEA published more or less 1 month ago, if we don't solve this problem, we will jeopardize something like 15% of global renewable energy production by 2030, which is quite a lot. This would result in more or less 20% less impact in CO2 and, generally speaking, greenhouse gases emissions, which it's quite a lot. The second thing is that we don't think enough about the use cases, how we leverage this renewable penetration to make sure we have real decarbonization. The most relevant goal here, of course, is to decarbonize industry, to make sure we have the resources in place, the solutions in place, partnerships in place to leverage this big renewable penetration to make sure we decarbonize these sectors. Now, this is not a European kind of data. This is from the US. I wanted to differentiate geographies, but this is quite relevant. These industries emit a lot, and we have the resources, we have the technologies to have an impact now, especially because this is also, that's the final end of our renewable deployment strategies. And it happens that there's one technology that sits exactly in between this integration and end user's goal, which is thermal energy storage. Of course, it's quite straightforward. You can store heat. You can use thermal energy storage to store. If you can go to the next slide, to store power and, of course, release it in terms of heat for industrial uses. The first category, so the impact that it has on integration, is quite relevant. Just think that, at the moment, we decide on the kind of investments we have to do on the grid infrastructure based on peak demand. And thermal energy storage can decrease peak demand, which means that TSOs can save money, can invest in additional integration measures. This is crucial. And I don't know, if you pick other technologies like boilers or heat pumps, they don't have this advantage. They are crucial for some sectors, but thermal energy storage comes with this big advantage of managing peak demand for the grid, which is critical for balancing needs, for flexibility needs. Of course, we know the main benefit, providing heat, hot water, steam, depending also on the various need and technologies. Here, the goal, of course, is to work on what Letizia was mentioning before, which is that something like 50%, about 50% of global energy is spent on heat, and half of that is used on industrial heat. So there's so much to decarbonize with that. The good news is that we have the technologies we need to impact right now. So if we are not deploying these technologies, it means, I mean, we have very good reasons. I can't imagine which are these reasons, but we should have some reasons to be slow in deploying these technologies for anything that is under 400 degrees. And this has very clear application cases. Like, I don't know if you can read, but the yellow part of the bars on the left is related to temperatures below 100 degrees for each of these sectors. So food and beverage, pulp and paper, textiles, chemicals, aluminum, cement, iron, and steel. While the red bar on the right is higher than 400. Of course, you have gray scales in the middle. So we see that we have a very strong potential impact in many of these sectors. And exactly, we have also different ways of applying these technologies. Like if you go on the right, you find the green part of the bar, which is related to the kind of first wave application potential, which is related to retrofitting existing uses. The light blue one is related to the core addressable market, that is new applications in which thermal energy storage can provide new kind of benefits, new innovative ways of applying these technologies. And you see that aluminum, cement, food and beverage, pulp and paper, all of these have great potential. All of these also have complementary or alternative technologies, like under 100 degrees in textile or in food production, we have heat pumps, we have boilers sometimes. Pulp and paper can run on biomass. So, it's not always the case for thermal storage, but very often it is. And the good news in this case, again, is that we have the technologies. One of the reasons why we don't deploy enough is that we tend to think that companies like Magaldi are the only cleantech champions. It's true. They are, of course. They spend their budgets instead of distributing dividends. They spend on innovation, which is great. They are cleantech champions, but we have cleantech champions also on the other end of the line, which is those that adopt these technologies, those that are bold enough, those that want to see a future for their companies, and it's not only corporates. Sometimes it's mid caps, SMEs that say, yes, I want to look at the future. I want to fight against these crazy energy prices that I'm facing, which are hamper my potential of being competitive on global markets. But very often these people are just left alone. They don't have a national strategy that translates this potential into incentives. So policymakers are just blind very often to this kind of needs. And on the other end, we don't have a concerted way of addressing these issues that make sure that they can talk to these other cleantech champions. This is something we have to work on. And in Italy especially, our strong industrial basis is very dependent on these small, medium companies. If we don't solve this conundrum, we won't see improvements in this kind of activities. But this is just part of the picture, because of course we also have technologies that need to, thermal energy storage needs to be improved to reach more than 100 degrees. It means we need to work on R&D, but also working on technology demonstration again. And this is the core of my activity with Cleantech for Italy, of breakthrough energy at the higher level globally. And you might have seen titles like this, like Northvolt, one of the European national champions for batteries, or Sweden in troubles in delivering is much hyped green energy boom, mostly related to H2 green steel, now Stegra. Yeah, this is part of the game, but on the other end, to make sure we translate these titles into something positive, to make sure we have companies like Magaldi doing the big job of demonstrating technologies at scale, of reaching these final goals, we need to deploy blended finance. We need to have strong industrial policy. At the moment, we don't have strong industrial policy. We just have some kind of commitments. Now, with the Clean Industrial Deal at the European level, we hope it will be soon presented more in detail. We have this new program called Accelerator Act, which is going to address specific heavy industry needs. We hope that will be a starting point, but we need to make philanthropic capital stepping in. We need to make these projects bankable. We are now working on kind of ambitious projects on the offtake side of it, on the guarantees side of it. And until we don't solve these problems, we will always have titles like that. The good news is that this is up to us. This is up to bold ambitions on the policymaking side. But the very first step is to act more together. Cleantech champions on the technology side, Cleantech champions on the adoption side, to make sure we have the right levers to see all of that happen. Thank you.